Welcome, professionals. I am going to share this short course resource with you, and the focus is the psychology of relationship building and really thinking about the psychology behind relationship building strategies. I'm going to focus mainly on the purpose of relationships and how you should be using your relationships to positively shape your personal and professional lives. And I really will uncover how we can use some frameworks such as EI, the art of strategic relationship building models to really help you enhance your ability to navigate complex social and professional relationships dynamics. And more importantly, I want you to use these to your advantage, either to accelerate your career or add value to the experience, of others or even your own, so that you ultimately understand how to win over and influence the people in personal and professional relationships with you. So I've prepared a delicious menu for you. I can just feel your excitement already. We're going to speak about these core lessons, understanding the purpose of relationships and using, key relationship models, how to approach professional relationships, looking at some of the fundamental laws of professional engagement, and then positioning your value, utilizing components of EI, and then navigating the various relationship levels and competence within each level, and then finally how to strategically position your relationship so that it has value for you and can deliver that strategic purpose that you hope to achieve. So let's dive in. I really want to take this time to explore with you some of these dynamics. Particularly, I want to give you the professional T. As you know, I often like to share with you my personal experiences, and I'm going to share one that I refer to as we're not on the same level. There was a time, you know, a number of years when I was in the private sector corporate space, and I had a very strong relationship with one of my senior managers. And I remember a time when I was, solicited for feedback and my opinions about something, and I gave my very unscripted feedback, unedited, comments about what I felt and saw and observed. And I think one of the key takeaways that I remember from, that experience is that, sometimes we might position ourselves incorrectly within a relationship. And for me, this was, one of the lessons that I remember very vividly because there were consequences for me. You know, I was giving unscripted, unedited feedback on another senior manager who had some kind of mileage, relationship mileage with my senior manager. And while we were close, and while, she relied on me for my technical expertise and I relied on her for direction and for navigating that space, I realized that there are often times that there are other persons who might be way more connected and may hold a closer, more strategic bond. And so we are not always on the same level. And I know that you can relate to that. So as I think, as I ask you to think about this, I want you to also think about what is the purpose of a professional relationship. So, because the hard truth is that not all relationships are equal, and you should really be strategically positioning yourself. We should be positioning ourselves professionally. We need to be able to deconstruct, like I did after that experience where I recognized that, oh no, I messed up. And so I repositioned myself within that relationship. And we can better engineer dynamics of our professional relationships so that we can have better results for everyone involved, and particularly for ourselves, because ideally, you know, relationships should strategically help us to position ourselves. And so, one of the things that I ask often is, what is the purpose of relationships? And professional relationships, there's a very large spectrum, and they can vary significantly in terms of the nature and impact. Some are fleeting, they serve a very specific purpose, during particular phases of our career. We often evolve, and some of those relationships can evolve with time. They can be deeply influencing of our professional growth and development, and the most valuable ones can enhance or accelerate our journeys. Certainly, some relationships can become destructive and they can hinder our growth, they can derail our aspirations and our acceleration. So, from that perspective, professional relationships are far more than just connections, social connections. They really form the foundation of our professional experience, and they can shape and they can test our success and resilience through various challenges. So, every connection, whether they are brief or enduring, they play a critical role in refining our influence, and they can define the trajectory of our career and also our success. So, I want you to think about, how are you positioning your professional value, because many service professionals, they possess raw talent. I mean, I know a lot of persons, even myself, when I think about how I've grown, I had a lot of latent ability, but your value needs to be strategically positioned, and if you're not careful to refine that value, it has to be firstly refined before it can be truly be useful to someone else, where someone can recognize the skill sets that you bring to the forefront, the abilities that you have, that they need to see value, they need to find something that will benefit them before they can embrace that. And that's why I encourage you to navigate relationships effectively and position your value with various persons so that they can recognize, basically this value. And that's why you have to recognize what is the purpose of a relationship. And so, one of the very useful framework, social engagement theory, this explains, that relationships thrive best when both parties perceive mutual benefit. In other words, when both of us feel valued and supported, those relationships grow and they get stronger. And we should be able to identify, the purpose of a relationship and what the mutual benefit will be, not just to us but also to the other persons that we are in relationships with. So from that perspective, I believe that emotional intelligence really takes center stage, because that helps you to understand what is the purpose of the relationship. And EI is really your ability to recognize and understand and really manage your own emotions, while also recognizing and understanding that you have influence over the emotions of others. Daniel Goleman did a really great job where he broke down all of the components of emotional intelligence, and there are five core components, and I want to share these components with you, and then I'm going to elevate it to a sixth component. So according to Goldman, these five components speak to one self-awareness, and that is, being able to help be recognized, or to be able to recognize that your emotion, and understand how your emotion, your thoughts and your behavior is going to impact the persons around you, and also the circumstances around you, and vice versa. And understanding this is really key to helping you to navigate those fierce conversations, and sometimes those conflict situations that can arise in a service industry, especially if you're a service professional or in a front facing role. And that is also supported by self regulation. You see, once you can embrace how you feel and you can recognize how you feel, you can adapt to circumstances. Those impulsive feelings that you feel once you recognize and embrace those emotions, you can then regulate them and keep them in line with either the company policy or industry best practice, or how you would like to strategically position yourself as a professional. And that's self regulation is key. And then there is motivation. I mean, the motivation to getting ahead and being, picked for promotion and being identified as someone who can grow into leadership and to earn more. That can be a strong driving force for individuals to achieve, their personal and professional goals with resilience and passion. And that's great, but I also want you to also recognize that while motivation will help you to, develop that, strong industry leadership within your field, you need to also become disciplined to it, because with time motivation can wane. And then there's empathy, understanding and sharing the feelings of others without judgments. This can foster really deep relationships and, connections. And there's the soft skills, the social skills, building relationships, navigating those dynamics of, mastering, those soft skills like communication, active listening, being clear, using body language and nonverbal cues, eye contact, and clear, concise written communication when you are speaking either via the phone or, emails, your tonnage and, the pace of your speech, and some of the interpersonal skills like empathy, building rapport and conflict resolution, and how to collaborate and network, those customer service skills of patience and problem solving, being adaptable and being able to have an active feedback loop and provide constructive, criticism and feedback. All of these are part of, some really powerful social, tools, that really help you to be able to handle unexpected situations, and adjust to different customer personalities, and, just learn new systems or procedures. And this professionalism and this work ethic, I want you to remember that as you master these skills, you increase your EI. So social skills, these things support your ability to self-regulate, to be self-aware, to connect with empathy. And, you find that a high capacity, high emotional intelligence enhances your leadership presence. It enhances your growth, and, can strengthen both your personal and professional connections. So in life and business, we operate at different levels in competence and in building relationships. Understanding where you stand in this journey can help refine your relationship building skills. Your level is not the same as your circumstance. And I'm going to use Noel Birch because he introduced this 4 levels of competence model, and it really helps to explain how individuals progress from not knowing what they don't know to mastering a skill with ease. And, every time I think about these levels, I think about, that time when, I ignored the law of levels and broke that law. And so, um, the first level I want to explore with you is unconscious incompetence. And you don't know what you don't know. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was asked, I was solicited, and I gave my feedback. And at that stage, you're unaware of your lack of knowledge or skill in a specific area. You don't know, you think you're just networking and meeting people, but, there are deeper nuances of trust and value exchange and long-term engagement. And, if you realize that you are unconscious, incompetent, seek feedback, surround yourself, so that you can move forward. These mentors that give you feedback will help to, highlight your blind spots, and you can read industry literature, attend events, and just engage in training where you can adapt, and learn a new mindset. And then there's the conscious incompetence. This is when you know know what you don't know, and at this stage, sometimes you might be embarrassed, but at this stage it's powerful because you've become aware of your knowledge gaps, and you start to understand what you need to improve, and then you can make those tweaks. And for this, you really want to use your EI to help you master some of those skills. Invest in learning, read books, courses, practice self-awareness, and observation is key. Observe interactions and adjust your approach. And here you will continue to improve your EI, develop stronger skills that really help you to manage conflict and just navigate professional relationships differently. And then there's the conscious competence. You can do it, but at this level, when you become consciously competent, it takes effort. Even if you know you can do it, you've gained that necessary skill, but you know how to apply them. It's gonna require effort and focus. You're gonna have to pay attention and stay focused, stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. And then we come to unconscious competence, and this is when there is gonna be a time when you're gonna become a natural. And at this stage, you would have mastered that skill, and it's mastered because it happens automatically without conscious effort from you, and you've become a seasoned leader here. That way you've built your professionalism, and now you can maintain professional relationships, navigate difficult conversations instinctively. And the way that you maintain your competence is, you share knowledge, you share your experience, but you also continuously improve and innovate and stay humble and remain open to feedback and, of course, growth. As we come to another understanding of how to navigate personal and professional relationships, there are various aspects of professional and personal relationships. They each operate under different rules and expectations. I want to explore some of the key differences and ask you to consider these aspects. In a professional relationship, it differs because the purpose, you need to understand what the mutual goals are, and this is the sort of boundary where the relationship will be marked and measured by your performance and kind of your outcomes. Whereas in a personal relationships is different. It's based on emotional connection and your shared experiences. So look at the different aspects, the aspects of your communication style. What boundaries are you setting? How are you maintaining personal boundaries or professional boundaries? When it comes to conflict, are you remaining objective in your professional relationships and solution oriented? That is the focus, and showing those problem solving competencies. How are you building trust, and how are you sustaining those professional relationships? Each aspect is different, and I want you to think of how are you again positioning your value within this structure, because you don't want to mix, and you don't want to mix and blur the lines of the boundaries, how you communicate, because each relationship have has its own dynamic rules, and how you build those relationships. You should be building them with purpose. Great leaders and service professionals do not build relationships blindly. In fact, no one should be building relationships blindly. You should be approaching it strategically. And as I come to you know this final share with you, in this I want you to think of some other management relationship management theories that I think would be very key to helping you navigate your professional relationships effectively, but more importantly, to position your value with various stakeholders. We recognize that these relationships and the purpose um, is would be different, and you want to apply some of these strategic relationship management principles that can really help you. So there's the stakeholder management, and in this basically you are looking at a framework where you can identify and engage with each key individual. You look at their influence, look at how they influence your professional journey, and map out your professional ecosystem to identify who are the decision makers, and who are the influencers, and who are the persons with mutual impact. Based on mutual impact and importance, you prioritize and tailor your communication style, tailor your value proposition to each stakeholder within their specific needs and interests. Of course, you want to regularly reassess relationships. They're like projects, so they evolve, and priorities shift. Then there's this trust building model, and in this, this is where you begin to strategically position your relationships based on three critical elements. Competence. We talk about levels of competence, demonstrating your expertise and ability to deliver results consistently. That's really important to strengthening, professional relationships. Once you've worked on competence, the next level is integrity. Adhere to a set of principles that align with organizational values. And then the final is benevolence, showing genuine concern, for others, and showing concern for their well-being, sometimes beyond self-interest, can really help to intentionally position you within a relationship, because you want to showcase that you have these three key elements so that you can, really be able to, drive home that you are a great connection. And then finally, the 5 levels of leadership. Maxwell developed this model to illustrate that, you can have influence in your relationship, but that influence can develop over time. So you start off with, a very first, basic, position, level, where people will follow you because they have, they don't have a choice. Then you have level 2, which is about permission, and people, they follow you because, they they have to. They have, they just have to. Yeah. Then people follow you because of production. People follow you because of what you've accomplished. You've done something well, and so you've produced. And then people can follow you because of, what you've done for them, and we call this development. Where, you've invested in their personal development, their professional development, so they feel that sense of, and then there's pinnacle, where people follow you because of who you are and what you represent, to them. And it's important that you understand that, this progression with the levels of influence that you have and that people have over you, and that this can strategically progress over time, so to help you to position your authority, and, do professional relationships to, your strategic advantage. Just remember that relationships are the foundation, both of our personal and professional success, so please invest in them wisely. Thank you so much for listening in. As I end, I really want to wish you all the best of luck on managing your personal and professional relationships.